Quote from a Bhagavad Gita lecture in Bombay. Who likes to read that? So sometimes nowadays people use culture in a very loose or superficial sense. Anything, even entertainment, even if it's really not elevating or educating in any way, they call it a culture. Now, Bhuvaneshwar Srila Prabhupada said, Vedic culture means to execute the Varnashram Dharma. Everybody has a duty as a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi. Everybody has an occupation, a service in the community. So that's our culture. Srimad Bhagavatam lecture. And this is very important for our congregational development. Who likes to read this? Okay, this is very important for our community building and congregational development, because this is really the spirit of what we are doing. Everyone is given a chance to become a first-class Brahmana. A Vaishnava, even though maybe occupied in different activities which are not technically Brahminical, his culture, his lifestyle will be Brahminical. He will cultivate raising early in the morning, cleanliness of body and mind, chanting mantras, worshipping of the deities, serving the Supreme Lord, and speaking on behalf of the Supreme Lord, which are the essential element of Brahminical culture. Just like you all know from Lilamrita, Srila Prabhupada said about his father, Gaur Mohan De. Technically, he was a merchant. He was a Vaishya by family and by occupation. He had a cloth shop. But Srila Prabhupada said his real business was deity worship. Srila Prabhupada remembered his father coming home at night and worshipping the deity of Radha Govinda. In London, Srila Prabhupada said this one. Who likes to read this? Loud and clear.
Vedic culture is very old. It is not a concocted thing or new pattern. It is eternal. Therefore, it is called Sanatan. Sanatan means eternal. It has no beginning, no end. Sanatan. So Vedic culture means Sanatan, eternal. Krishna is eternal. We living entities, we are eternal. And a relationship and exchange of loving service with Krishna is also eternal.
And this is a bit technical. Bhakti means there is activity. Anukulyena, favorably. Krishna anushilanam, to satisfy Krishna. Anushilanam means culture. The culture means there is activity. In other words, Srila Prabhupada says, translate anushilanam as culture. Anushilanam is the cultivation of that bhakti. And interestingly, the Acharya explained that anushilanam refers to both the external cultivation in terms of activities of the senses and of the body, and internal cultivation, the activity of the mind. So last quote, who likes to read that? Okay, Vidahischa sarvahir aham eva vidyo. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that when everything is said and done, the Vedas speak only about him, and he is to be known through all the Vedic practices, Vedic literature, and Vedic culture. So there is no different meaning between Vedic culture and Krishna consciousness. So we saw a few dictionary definitions, we saw a few ways in which Srila Prabhupada used the word culture. So I appreciate very much the fact that you chose to be here at this time of the day. I understand there are many other seminars, many other things to do, and I really want to express my gratitude for you to choosing to come at this time. It may be a little bit of a challenge to sit in a seminar at this time. It's 12:35. It's getting hot, so I appreciate your effort. And please, anytime you have some questions or comment, raise your hand and speak. All groups must deal with two aspects. The first of all is surviving, growing, and adapting to the environment. Surviving. Of course, if we don't exist, there's nothing else to talk about. Many movements appear and disappear. It is calculated by researchers, scholars on religion, that statistically, only one out of 1,000 religious movements survives for 100 years and attracts 100,000 followers. So the rest, the 999 religious movements that start, disappear within 100 years. Now, ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, in 2016 is about to celebrate our 50th anniversary. If we still exist, of course. We don't know. So we are kind of halfway, almost. And but we have more than 100,000 people. So first of all, you need to survive to do anything else. Growing, especially religious movements, have a message, and a message that they would like other people to accept and follow. So growing. And then adapting to the environment, remaining relevant, remaining relatable, and doing things in a way that we take the opportunities that the environment offers, and in a way that we overcome the challenges that our environments offer. Second aspect, all groups must deal with internal integration to allow functioning. There must be some system of authority, some direction, some hierarchy, somebody who says what to do and other people will do at different levels, locally, nationally, internationally. So these two are issues with any group, commercial group, religious group, non-profit, any groups need to deal with this. So one definition of culture is that it's a pattern of shared basic assumptions that the group acquire by dealing with issues of external adaptation and internal integration. In other words, by dealing with these issues, internally and externally, we gain some assumptions. This is the way of doing these things. And that becomes the culture of the group. So the pattern has worked well enough to be considered valid and to be taught to new members as the correct way to think and feel. So human beings need cognitive stability. If people are treated consistently in terms of certain basic assumptions, they come eventually to behave according to those assumptions in order to make the world stable and predictable. It's a defense mechanism. So, we are going to analyze now 3 levels of culture, and if after this seminar you remember only these 3 levels of culture, I think still this seminar will be useful. So So if you don't remember anything else, which I'm sure you'll remember a lot more, but if you don't remember anything else, I think if you really remember these three levels of culture and how they apply in your community, I think it would be worthwhile for you to read the different patterns that you see socially, psychologically, in your communities. First level of culture, artifacts. Artifacts is defined with what comes in touch with the senses, colors, sound, etc., visible products, language, art, style of clothes, etc. Are you all familiar with this word, artifacts? Okay, we could say artifacts is all what comes in touch with the senses, okay? The music, architecture, how this community builds their building, what are the principles, what are the decorations, how they speak, what kind of language, what kind of art, how they dress, what is their way of keeping their hair. Anything that you can see, you can put in this category, artifacts. How they arrange the room or the temple, what kind of pictures they put on the wall. This is all the part of artifacts. Second level, the espouse values. Espouse means the values that they publicly propagate, they promote. They say, these are our values. Generally, they're initially started by founders, then subsequent leaders influence the group, and shared values become shared assumptions. Now, values include, say, for instance, the purpose. We have 7 purposes of ISKCON. These were established by Srila Prabhupada, and they form the official and formal manifestation of what we believe in. What are we supposed to do as a movement? And please keep in mind that these official values may or may not always be the same as we see on the ground. For instance, we all know that in Krishna consciousness, a very important value is cleanliness. But are all our temples very clean? Question mark. Are all the bathrooms in all our temples and centers very clean? So this is the difference between value, may be applied if it's assimilated, or may just be a formal statement. And then third level, the deepest one and the most powerful one in shaping the culture is the basic assumptions. Things that are so deep, beliefs that we held so strongly internally that we may not even be aware that we have them. So these evolve as solutions to problems are repeated again and again. We do things in a certain way, and we start believing this is the only way of doing things, and this is the right way. And sometimes may or may not be the right way. There was one lady from Finland in North Europe who went to preach to Greece in South Europe. And she told us that there was a brahmachari there from Germany who somehow had this strong belief that the Sunday program should start at 4 p.m. I'm not saying that this is a characteristic of all German brahmacharis, but this particular one had this strong belief. This lady told him, but here in Greece at 4 p.m. everybody sleep. The whole country is asleep at 4 p.m. They have the siesta, the afternoon nap. So there is no point of opening the temple at 4 p.m. But no, this brahmachari had this strong assumption that Sunday program must start at 4 p.m. And of course, nobody came at the Sunday program because they were asleep. So hypotheses become reality. Something that could be, it becomes, it is. And then to learn something new requires resurrection, re-examination, frame breaking. To change the assumption takes a lot of work because they're very deeply and strongly held within our heart. Now, a few graphics, artifacts, what you see, what comes in touch with the senses, values, and deeper assumptions. The iceberg analogy. On top you have these observable symbols, ceremonies, stories, slogans, behavior, dress, physical settings. But then there is an immersed level with values and assumptions, beliefs, and so on. The water lily analogy, or if you prefer the lotus analogy, maybe you're more familiar with lotuses. There is the lotuses, you see the lake, you only see the leaves, and you see the flowers. Those are the behaviors, norms, and artifacts. But those don't stay up by themselves. There are some stems. And those stems are the values, the idea of what's important. And those stems have roots. There are certain philosophies, certain assumptions. Another analogy, same idea, the apple analogy. In the center there are the seed. The seed contains the DNA, the information on how the apple will be manifested. So from there, invisible information going out in the body of the apple with values, behavior, pattern of behavior. And then at the end, what you see outside the skin is the artifacts and symbols. And sometimes it's very difficult to understand where these symbols come from. Like many people, when they meet the devotees for the first time, they focus on the artifacts, on the externals. They say, why you paint your nose, why you wear a sika, why you have a dhoti or a sari. Because this is the thing that comes in touch with the senses. More subtle people will ask, what is your philosophy? Do you believe in God? And so on. But many people stop at the externals. So this is a graphic. At the top we have behaviors. Why those behaviors are there? Because there are certain values, certain idea what's important. And why those values are there? Because there are certain assumptions and philosophies which account for the values, which account for the behaviors. Any questions so far? Any comment? Any insight of how this works in your communities? How what you see in your community externally is as a source in something that is in people's mind about what's important? Any experience you like to share?
If we were to say that one of our values would be, right, we are not the body, we are spirit, soul. But at the same time, we get influenced by the cultures around us, so our norms or artifacts don't necessarily align with that value a lot of times.
Okay, this is one of our philosophy, yes, is our, you could say, values. And then, but because we are in a culture that...
Our artifact is not always consistent with our values and philosophy as a result.
It's a fact. It's a fact. Like, for instance, one of our values could be that we should depend on God, right? In the ultimate sense. But sometimes we don't always see that in practice. We see a lot of anxiety, we see a lot of fear. Yeah. At the same time, it remains our official value. But to the point that it's integrated, it's assimilated, it's really made part of ourself, it will be manifested in the activity. Yes, good point. Okay, another graphic. We can divide the whole thing in the why and the how. The why we do certain things is because we believe in certain things. And the how we do things is what we say about our values, what we say to the world. We believe in this. And what we do, something that you can see in the realm of action, in the world of action. So you can also know what we believe, what we say, and what we do. The why and the how. So this is a picture of the assumption. Sometimes it's like a locked inside our head. And it's very difficult to unlock that because they're very, very strongly held beliefs. And sometimes we don't even know that we have those beliefs. And the subtitle of this seminar is Why Different Temples Have Different Moods. And I would say that the main reason is because leaders of those communities have different moods. And therefore they stress certain activities over another. And when you go to a temple, even a temple that could be geographically very close and part of the same country or even the same city, we see a different mood. We see different values. We see temples, for instance, where there is a very great stress and emphasis on taking care of the guests, and they plan, and they discuss, and they invest time and energy. And some temples where reception of the guests, hospitality appears to be almost afterthought. It may happen, may not happen, maybe nobody's there, or maybe you ask for something, they just tell you, well, go see somebody, look for somebody. How many of you come from India? Okay, so you are the minority, huh? Although you are... Or how many of you come from Europe? Okay, how many of you come from Russia? Arrivo. How many of you come from the rest of Asia? How many of you come from North America? Okay, Africa, Australia. Hare Krishna. So, cultural engineers, community builders, needs to operate at all three levels of culture. So, I assume that you have some interest in congregational development, in community building, because you came here to this course, this seminar, and so I assume you are leading. I know some of you are leading in your communities. We have temple presidents and other authority figures here, and you're all cultural engineers, because whatever you do creates a culture, gives a message of what's important or what's not important. Interestingly, whatever you do and whatever you don't do creates a culture. If you speak about something, people take it, oh, Prabhu spoke about that, it must be important. If you don't speak about something, people will take, well, Prabhu didn't speak about that, it must be not so important. It's just the nature of life. Whatever the leader do or whatever the leader does not do, it sends a very strong message. And when we say need to operate at all three levels of culture, means that you need to consider all these three levels: artifacts, values, and assumptions. I give you an example. We just mentioned briefly about reception of guests, hospitality. Say, for instance, you want to establish in your temple the value of hospitality. You may decide to act on the level of values, and you speak in your lecture, in your communication, in your newsletters. You may want to say that Atiti Seva, service to guests, is very important. Atiti Narayana, whoever comes unannounced, is representative of the Lord. And you can quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all examples of Vaishnava hospitality. And that's one level. At the same time, you may want, if you do have the power, to make practical arrangements for hospitality to take place. I give you an example. In the Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Mandir, Chopati, once I noticed that there was a devotee. He gave the Bhagavatam class. And he was obviously a very scholarly devotee. He quoted Sanskrit verses from all the cantos, 11 cantos, everywhere. Then, the same day, I saw this devotee, one of the senior brahmacharis, sitting in the temple room, waiting for guests. And when the guests would come, he would talk to them, make friends, like that. So I realized that in Chopati, reception, hospitality was not just a value, theoretically, but because it was such a strong value, they were investing, putting their best men to do that. And therefore, it was not only an assumption, not only a value, it became an artifact. It became a norm. It became a behavior. And when you establish a behavior, that behavior can perpetuate a certain culture. If you really have the value of hospitality and you put your best preachers sitting there waiting for guests, not only you are aligning your behavior with your values, but you make a statement that all community can readily see, can readily witness. Oh, hospitality is important. Oh, whoever sits there in the temple waiting for guests is the face and the voice of the whole organization. This is just an example. Any of you, I'm sure you have many experiences, any of you wants to share now some experiences of operating at all three levels when you want a certain aspect of culture being established in your area, in your temple, in your community?
I'm from Denver, so we know Kaunteya Prabhu for many years. When we first moved to Denver, we had about 2 people coming for Mangalarti every day. And studying Prabhupada's books, you all know how the morning program is a core value for our. So you know that the morning program is a very core value system. Sadhana, good sadhana is one of the, even for book distributors, it's very important to have good sadhana. So when we had to shift the culture from what it was in Denver, in Colorado and USA, to Srila Prabhupada's program, we first started, at least a few of us, we started speaking about how important it is to have a good sadhana, how important it is to come for the full morning program, especially if you're living on the temple properties and if you're living close to the temple properties. So then not only did we speak about it, that's one level, we also had started encouraging, we ourselves practiced it. We were always there at Mangalarti every day, some of us. And by doing that, people started noticing that it was an important value and it was being encouraged. It was not just lip service. And slowly, in probably about 5 or 6 months' time, the entire culture has changed in Denver now, where almost we get 20 to 30 people coming from Mangalarti every day, sitting through japa in the temple, instead of just disappearing after Mangalarti and things like that. And Bhagavatam class, you would say much less because people have to go to work, but at least the culture's changed. Similarly, on a different level, there was another value system that we tried to expose in Denver, which is called team spirit. And a few of us started cooking the Sunday feast together. And just watching the team spirit that was there in the kitchen has made the whole congregation start wanting to help in the kitchen. In fact, we get about 250 to 300 people for the Sunday feast. And nowadays we get so many people offering to do service for the Sunday feast, either cooking or washing pots or helping cut up vegetables or even serving the Sunday feast, that we almost sometimes have to tell them to hold off and give other people a chance. So that's something about culture.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good point. So not only in terms of preaching and speaking, but also showing with the example, and then it becomes an established culture. And of course, another element is that culture needs always to be maintained, because unless the leaders maintain that type of standards, it's very easy to slip down to whatever was the original standards. Especially when we talk about high spiritual standards, it's very easy to go for something that costs less, something that takes less energy, less commitment, less dedication. So you as cultural engineers, your work is not only creating a culture, but somehow maintaining it. Because tamas, rajas, it's always the predominant influences. So when sattva guna somehow conquers a certain territory, you need to fight to maintain that. Anybody else wants to share some experience on this importance of acting on the 3 levels?
Something with guests at the Sunday feast, myself and a couple of other people always sit in the front, and if people come in new, then we greet them and tell them a little bit about what will happen at the Sunday feast, and then give them a little book that explains about the Sunday feast and some basic things about the temple, tell them how long it's going to take, and then tell them when the feast time comes that we can sit together and talk then. And when we do this, it makes people want to come back more because they feel like somebody... Well, because it's a culture of trying to include people. And they see that we are friendly, because when they come in, it appears that everybody knows what's going on and they don't, and they feel like an outsider. So quite often the artifacts make it look different than the way it really is. So we have to show that even though we know what we're doing, we're there to help people. The artifacts in that sense can make people feel unwelcome if somebody doesn't show them some of the things or help them get involved.
I'm from the Ukraine, Khersonis. We maintain the culture on the 3 levels, and especially stress upon the Srila Prabhupada statement upon the nourishing the children. Children are our future, so therefore we should take care of them. This point. First of all, we spoke about that on the lectures. And practically, sometimes we had to struggle for taking care of children, because sometimes it was very difficult to get some accommodations for them and so on. Then we and then we made some equipment in their rooms, some toys, and we made some altar there also. Then we found some devotees who agreed to teach these children, to teach them how to dance, how to draw, how to study the scriptures. And finally Krishna began to send a lot of children to our yatra. Like more than 10 children came after 1 year of our development of this point. Like parents with small children. I have a daughter and she's 6 years old, so I was thinking how to take care of her, like how to make a good environment for her to become Krishna consciousness. So therefore we began to develop that mood of taking care. So therefore, it was very important for us. The children come to the temple, that they listen to the lectures. They had some special place for their dancing and so on, because they are our future. Thank you very much.
So there was a value, there was this assimilation of this belief that children are our future, did not remain just an abstract thought. It found its way in the world of artifacts, in the world of behavior, norms, and this helped people shape their thinking. Just like we hear always from our Vaisheshika Prabhu, where attention goes, energy flows. So, where attention goes, in this case to the children, energy flows. And so they made the programs, they made the arrangements, and somehow we hear that new couples with young children came and took advantage of that arrangement and probably felt welcome, felt that their needs were taken care of. So, cultural engineers, community builders, community leaders need to define and promote the attitudes and behaviors they desire. This is a quote from a scholar. Ed Shine is considered to be one of the world authorities in the realm of culture, organizational change. It's a very deep thinker. He says, the only thing of real importance the leaders do is to create and manage culture. If you do not manage culture, it manages you. And you may not even be aware of the extent to which this is happening. So, the key sentence, if you do not manage culture, it manages you. If you as a leader don't establish the way you want to see things happening, you want to see what kind of values, what kind of thinking, what kind of planning you want to see, then the existing culture, whatever it is, that manages you. The existing assumptions that defines the limits of what you can accomplish and how you can lead. So if you meditate one sense, really the most important thing the leaders do is to create and manage culture, both by example and by precept, by showing in practice the values they want to see established, and by deciding practically what programs and activities they want to see taking place. And sometimes it needs a little break with the past. Because maybe when you come into the scene, maybe not all that you see is what you would like to see. Our Krishnadas Kaviraj Prabhu is our GBC Deputy Chairman. We've been elected for the second year. He has been elected for the second year in a row as the chairman of the GBC Deputies. How many of you know what the GBC Deputies do? Raise your hand if you know what GBC Deputies do. How many of you knew that GBC Deputies existed as a category of reality? Okay, almost half. See, GBC Deputies have a very important role because they receive and process all the proposals that come to the GBC. You know the GBC resolutions, resolve that. Those proposals first come to the deputies. And the deputies process them. And sometimes there is a lot of processing with the English, with the grammar, with the alignment with existing ISKCON law. They give a preliminary evaluation. So Prabhu is the chairman and became the chairman last year. And maybe he found a certain culture, a certain way of doing things that maybe he did not absolutely appreciate, and he worked to change that, right? Improve. Let's say you wanted to improve. Okay, so this is what leaders do, is to create and manage culture at every level. Give him a hand, please. It's a great responsibility. Any questions on this point, particularly this point?
Not exactly on this point. If you have too many cultural engineers or the community builders in a single community, even if there are so many values behind it, but it becomes a chaos. So, what do you say about it?
Well, one thing is that their values in an ideal world should be aligned, they should be consistent, they should be compatible. So sometimes more than values, maybe it's a case of priority. For instance, say we talk about hospitality and we talk about children. I don't think that any of the leaders in your community would say, no, children are not important. Or any would say, no, reception of guests is not important. But maybe the dialogue will be on priorities. We have limited resources, limited manpowers. Should we start a Gurukula? Should we start a Sunday school? Or should we invest the same people that could go to teach in the Sunday school, we put them as receptionists? So I would like to think that maybe the difference is not on the values, but on the priorities. Could it be like that? And you need dialogue. You need dialogue so that the difference of priorities don't become a conflict. I don't know exactly your community, what are the issues there, so I don't know how much I can advise in particular. But I would say that at least we can all agree on a basis, like Srila Prabhupada teaching, Srila Prabhupada instructions. And sometimes the tension will be on how to apply those teachings. Say, for instance, book distribution. Some people may say that we should do the best to do have a brahmachari, a sankirtan party, traveling. Somebody may say, no, better to do that every member of our community distributes some books. So I would say that possibly and probably the tension won't be on the values, but on the application of those values.
This idea of, could you just say something just to reassure me that this isn't some sort of, I know it sounds like the devil's advocate a little bit, but it's, when you talk about cultural management, it sounds almost like a kind of brainwashing, or you're going to actually create the, kind of program people to, why isn't it brainwashing? Why isn't it propaganda? Why isn't it that? Or is it okay if it is?
Prabhupada Das Prabhu said, this sounds, what are we talking, sounds like this cultural management or cultural engineering, sounds like almost programming people, brainwashing, make them feel in a certain way, think in a certain way. How is this not this? Or maybe it is, and maybe it is okay that it is like this. And I would say that that's just the way it is. That's the way it is. Leaders lead. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yad yad acharati shreshtas tadad evetaro janaha. Shri Krishna presents that as a law of the universe, as a law of nature. Yad yad acharati shreshtas, whatever the leaders do, tadat evetaro janaha, the people follow. And whatever they do become a pramana. Pramana. That the world follows. Lokas tad anuvartate. Anuvartate. So it's just a law, I would say just a law of nature. Whoever acts as a leader will establish culture. It may be a positive influence, It may be a negative influence, but you take a role of leadership, people will follow you. Of course, they can also rebel. That's also there. But in general, it's just the law of nature. Whoever goes up in the public eye, it may be a football player, it may be a baseball player, it may be a rock singer, it may be an actor, an actress. But whatever people at the top do, people do follow. It's a law of nature. It's just anthropological. Like when Mrs. Obama, Michelle Obama, she started, the wife of the President of the United States of America. For some reason, she favors these sleeveless dresses, even in winter. And she was in many official photos with sleeveless dresses. And women throughout the United States of America started cutting off their sleeves and going sleeveless. It's just the nature. It's just the way it is. But you can use it for good purpose.
You talk about taking the position of leadership to become a cultural engineer. How do you balance the humility with, at the same time, taking that position of leadership?
I would say that it's a question of definition of humility. According to Srila Prabhupada and Bhagavad Gita, humility is defined as being free from the anxiety of being glorified. In other words, humility is defined as one doesn't try to get pleasure by being praised. So if you take that humility, that definition of humility, humility doesn't mean that you believe that you don't have anything to offer to the world. You actually recognize the gifts you have, knowing that they don't belong to you. They're all borrowed plumes, borrowed feathers. So there are at least two ways of becoming a leader. We can talk now, especially in our ISKCON communities. One way, which I would say is the wrong way, is that we think that position will make us happy. That influence, that authority, that power will make us happier. Which, as we know, often doesn't work that way. But if we think that that position will give us happiness, and we do whatever we need to get to that position, any scheme, any intrigue, any politics, any alliance, holy or unholy alliance, so that we can get to that position. Another way is that due to our dedication to a certain mission or a certain aspect of the mission, we take responsibility in that area. We become active, we become dedicated, and then our dedication is noticed, and people keep giving us more and more responsibility. I would like to think, I expect this happened with you becoming the chair. I don't think you started scheming for years. I'll get the chair. Somehow or other I'll get the chair. You came, you offer your service. Devotees appreciated your steadiness, your responsibility, your reliability. And when there was a need for a change, so why don't we take Krishnadas Kaviraj Prabhu? And you gracefully accepted the responsibility. You were looking for service, and you got responsibility, and with the responsibility came leadership. You're not looking for position. So like that. Humility means that we are not eager to be glorified. And taking a leadership in ISKCON is a very good place for that. And you need that humility to be a leader in ISKCON. And I'm talking everything. Gurus, you speak with gurus. Many gurus have this experience. The disciples don't listen to them. I'm not joking. So, you want to become humble? Become a leader. See, Prabhupada Das Prabhu, anything which has power is also dangerous. It's just the nature of life. Okay? This mic has got some power. See, I speak, my voice gets amplified. But there is some danger. You touch the wire, you get burnt. Anything which has power, there is also danger. So anything, yes, you go up as a leader, there is some power, there is some authority invested in the position. Your words and your example start having power, and there is a danger. Because you go off, many people may go off or may get disappointed, may get dejected, may feel frustrated. But just like you cannot do anything without energy, without power, I don't know of any leadership that doesn't have any danger. But again, this is the work. You manage culture. You try to help people the way, to think in the right way. Mammanavam bhakto madhyajivan namaskuru. Managing behavior, managing culture is synonymous. You can manage behavior. At the same time, if you just manage behavior without trying to engineering also the values, then people may not know why they do that behavior. You may say you are president and you want to establish certain things. Say book distribution. So you may just focus on managing behavior. You may just want to everybody in book distribution. But then if people don't understand why, then when that external force is not there, the behavior also collapses. When you change your service, people will ask, well, where should do any more book distribution? He's gone. So you need to create, if you really want to push book distribution, at one point you make your practical arrangement to engage everyone, but then at one point you have to also build the value. Why is so important? What Srila Prabhupada said. What is book distribution? It's part of it. It's part of it. All three aspects are important. Because if you speak about book distribution, but you don't do any practical arrangement, that's also sterile. But if you only push the behavior without creating the understanding, without creating the beliefs, why we do it, the history, the tradition, then when that external push is left, maybe the whole idea is left.
Sometimes we are not satisfied with the present culture, and we don't have the proper authority, also power, also to change the culture. And that present culture is really having a lot of effect on the values. Our value system is going down and down.
Your personal value system.
The whole community value system.
The whole community.
And you are not having the proper authority to change the culture. So what?
So what to do?
Yeah.
Okay, there is something called leadership without titles. See, we'll talk more about this tomorrow. Tomorrow is more about leadership and empowerment and what their role in shaping culture. But as an introduction, we should understand that leadership is what leadership does. Are you familiar with the expression money is what money does? Have you ever heard? Okay, beauty is what beauty does. Money is what money does. See, what is money? Money, it's a symbol that you have the right for certain services or you can buy some assets. And in different times, in different places, different things are accepted as money. Like at the time of Lord Chaitanya, we hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita, they were using conch shells. So the value of things will be codified in conch shell. Probably they had counted. I mean, conch shells, you may say, but conch shells are free. They are in the river. Yes, but it takes some time and some energy to go and pick them up. So they probably have codified, say in 6 hours, the average person, how many conch shells they'll pick up from the river. And that's like a day of work, a day of labor. I don't know, say 50 conch shells. So in certain cultures, certain places, they use conch shells. In some places, they use coins. In some places, they use piece of papers, currency. In some places, they use checks, which is not anymore a check, but it's just a piece of paper with written the name, the amount. In some place they use credit cards. It's not even anything paper. It's just electronic data somewhere in a computer. So, but money is what money does. If you present one form of money and the person gives you the goods you want, you can see this is money. So leadership is what leadership does. Yes, having a position, having a official status may help, but at the same time, anybody can lead from any position. Anybody has a circle of influence. Maybe 1 person, 2 persons, 10 persons, and this circle of influence can expand according to, again, the desire, the capacity to attract resources and inspiration. I give you an example. Last month I was in Russia, and the Russian devotees know Krishna Das Kaviraj Prabhu. You all know him? You all know Krishna Das Kaviraj Prabhu? From Moscow. You all know? Okay, so this Krishna Das Kaviraj Prabhu, his heart is really into Harinam, doing Harinam. And he does Harinam, he arranges people from Harinam, he takes people from Bhakti Vrikshas, engages them in Harinam. He doesn't have a position, but he's taking leadership. He even wrote a book. How many of you in Russia has the book by Krishna Das Kaviraj? The book on Harinam? You have? So, see, he wrote a book, he's out, he's preaching about Harinam, so he's taking real leadership on that, without any position, without any title. And all Russia, thousands of devotees know him and know his message, because somehow he took a stand. We need to push Harinam. And he did it, he wrote a book, you find it in the House of Devotees. So, I don't know exactly what kind of values you don't agree with in your place. I don't even know where is your place, and I'm not going to ask, in public at least. Huh? But certainly that does not prevent you of taking some responsibility, of being a force for change. Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world, right? That's one of the things Gandhi said, no? Be the change you want to see in the world. So that anybody can do, title or not title.
I was just thinking through his question and your answer, Prabhu, and a little more, some of my observation on that. So, like you said, be the change you want to see. And, it's nice that you're empowering grassroots leadership, which is definitely needed, which can make a lot of difference. It seems like grassroots leadership is very powerful, but it would have pockets of impact because it's around an individual who's motivated and inspired to lead. At the same time, an organization also has a culture which is driven top-down. ISKCON. Or any organization, for that matter, right? Like even in a corporation, a certain manager or a group manager or a leader may have their own tone within their department, but then there's a broader culture that they have to line up to at a corporate level. So I was just wondering if there is, partly has the leadership of ISKCON seen this PowerPoint, and is there a thought about, at an overall level, what are our assumptions, what are our values, what are our artifacts, maybe by leader, because we are not a homogeneous one culture anymore with Prabhupada's leaving. Is there such effort?
Thank you for asking. You see, I serve also in the GBC strategic planning team. And we help the GBC think of the future and shape a better culture at all levels. In fact, we do have an initiative which is entitled Culture. It's led by Her Grace Taraka Mataji and His Grace Sitaram Prabhu, She's from Australia, he's from London. And there was a series of courses during the ILS, ISKCON Leadership Sangha. How many of you were participants in the ILS? Okay. How many of you had the chance to saw those culture seminars? Okay, some of you have seen that. So, in different words, in different ways, these things are discussed. So, it's a beginning. It's active only since 1 year. So, they are getting their what we could say, their rhythm, their pace. But it's certainly a GBC strategic initiative to take a look at the culture in our movement. You asked me if I ever gave this presentation last year in Juhu, or in October. I gave this similar presentation to similar elements to all the devotees that are not GBCs, but they are helping the GBCs in different committees, different initiatives. There are about 70, 80 devotees. So this dialogue started. This dialogue is going on. It's an ongoing dialogue. And yes, the strategic planning team certainly is very conscious that in order to change and have beneficial and long-lasting changes, we need to modify the culture. But thank you for bringing it up. Yes.
I'm sorry I came somewhat late, and you may have already touched on this, but I think it's a very important question that is being brought up. And right here in Mayapur, we have Bhakti Vidyapurna Swami, who puts a lot of energy into trying to remind us that, in one sense, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The culture default mode, of course, with proper application, according to him, and I tend to agree, should be Vedic. Should be the Vedic culture. That should be our. So of course it's a whole big topic, but it is important when we talk about managing culture, not to just assume we really know what we're trying to do or what the goal is or what the kind of culture. Because like you go to America, for instance, there are many places, and you see a melange or a mix between the Vedic and the modern and the ISKCON, and different places have what you might call very different cultures. So it's not like a given that we already know what kind of animal we're talking about, I would say. So maybe you have some comments.
Prabhupada Das Prabhu. Everybody knows Prabhupada Das Prabhu? You don't know? He's one of the most senior Srila Prabhupada disciples in the movement. From the days of 26 2nd Avenue. Srila Prabhupada personally offered him a dhoti to wear. I don't think many people in this room can say the same. Okay, so to honor and answer your question, we actually did touch upon that at the beginning when you were not here with us. We were showing this type of quotes, like the Vedic culture is very old, it's Sanatana. Vedic culture is a Sanatan culture. Our relation exchange of loving service with Krishna is also eternal. This quote, as you can see, Vedic culture means Krishna consciousness. There is no other different meaning of Vedic culture. So we actually framed in Prabhupada words that Krishna consciousness, Vedic culture, there is no different meaning. Of course, the issue then is to identify what's Vedic, what's not Vedic, what's Vedic which is applicable, what's Vedic which is impractical. That's the next. Even, in other words, even accepting your premise that yes, we have Vedic culture and that should be our main reference, still the dialogue is open. What aspect of Vedic culture to take, how to apply. But certainly we accept that. In Prabhupada words, Vedic culture means Krishna consciousness. There is no other different meanings of Vedic culture. Again, how that Vedic culture manifests in the world of action. In other words, Vyasadeva wrote the Vedas, wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, then Srila Prabhupada translated into English. Now the same books are being produced as e-books. is still Vedic. At the same time, it may take different shapes which we may not even be familiar with. So we welcome His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, the Minister for the ISKCON Congregational Development Ministry. We were just in a session of question and answer. We described the 3 levels of culture as artifacts, values, and assumptions, deep beliefs. And we were stressing how the leaders of the communities, the leaders of the congregation or the temples need to act at all 3 levels. They need to work on creating the right behaviors, create and promote the right values, and create and manage the right beliefs.
Yeah, well, on the same little dialogue, I hope it's not a digression, is that you're saying that, okay, so Vedic culture means Krishna consciousness, and Krishna consciousness means Vedic culture. Problem solved. We know what we mean by Vedic culture. It's Krishna consciousness. But one of the points that Bhaktivedanta Swami stresses is that unless we're really fixed up, I mean, really fully Krishna conscious, you might say, then we still have to lean on some kind of material culture. And that's where the problem sometimes arises. In other words, it's not like we have Krishna consciousness in our grasp, at least in my own case. It's not like we have, most of us have it as an item that, okay, this is what it is. Oh, it's Krishna conscious. I know what that is. Of course, we know it from the books. But if we're not actually realized and actually practicing it in a very, very strong way, then our tendency is to revert back to whatever our native culture was, or our circle of friends, or the Gurukuli culture, or some kind of culture, how to eat, how to sleep, how to mate, how to defend, how to relate to one another. So I'm just leaving this as a little open-ended thing, that there's still some work to be done, perhaps, is my only point. The question is, if we're not very strong, or not very advanced in Krishna consciousness, then how can we say that we've solved the culture problem in terms of defining it, because we just know that it's Krishna consciousness, as if we all are just fully swimming in whatever, in strong Krishna consciousness. And many of ourselves and many of those who we may be trying to lead may not be that strongly Krishna conscious, and then the question of all these relative cultures starts to come in. So how do we make sure that at least something proper is being inculcated in terms of culture?
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Auravani Vachardane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vasatyate Satarne Vakhakroti Vachalam Pangulang Hayate Yatki Pathaman Bande Sri Guru Nirhainam Brahmanandamaram Sri Chaitanya Swami. Krishna consciousness is a very broad subject, and Vedic culture is also very broad. But in establishing our culture, what people will remember is not the big things, but the small things. Oh, the person smiled, or the person had this ceremony, like that. So we see that in Krishna, sometimes Krishna was greeting the people, and he took the service of washing their feet. Although he is the Supreme Lord, he took the service of washing their feet. So, culture can be also, we just say Krishna conscious culture, but every temple we go to is a little independent, a little different. And we need to focus what culture we want to present. Like, we see that the 6 Goswamis, they have quoted all over the Vedas. they quote from the Skanda Purana and different Puranas, which normally we consider to be focused on the Devas. But there's also very relevant points about Krishna. So we can't make a culture based on someone's lack of knowledge. But there might be some differences in each country, depending what will be more digestible for the local people. Like here in India, they like the ceremonies.
Like here in India, they like the ceremonies.
They like the students chanting Sanskrit mantras.
They like the chanting of the Sanskrit mantras.
Puspa, mantra puspa, the mantra flowers.
The mantra pushpa, the mantra flowers.
But maybe in America, they wonder what's going on.
Maybe in America they wonder what's going on.
What's he saying?
What is it saying?
I don't understand.
I don't understand.
They all tight, all nervous.
They become nervous.
So there may be some little differences.
So there may be some little differences.
But just like all over the world, we chant these same prayers.
But all over the world we chant the same prayers.
We chant Samsara Dalvanala, we chant Hare Krishna, we chant the Panchatattva mantra.
We chant Samsara Davanala, we chant Hare Krishna, we chant the Pancha Tattva mantra,
Guru Puja.
Guru Puja.
So these mantras, these prayers, they are part of our culture.
So these mantras, these prayers are part of our culture.
Like recently there was a big uproar in Malaysia.
Recently there was a big uproar in Malaysia.
The Muslims said that in the Christian Bible they refer to God as Allah.
The Muslims said that in the Christian Bible, God was referred to as Allah.
And Allah is a name which is only used by Muslims.
And they said that Allah is the name of God that is only used by Muslims.
But the Christians said Allah means God. So
But the Christians said, but Allah means God. So
we're using the name Allah.
we are using the name Allah.
So there was a big fight.
There was a big fight.
Then someone in Parliament commented, maybe we should adopt the Hindu way.
And somebody in Parliament commented that maybe we should adopt the Hindu way.
That they say God has many names.
That they say that God has many names.
And all names are holy.
And all names are holy.
Now, so in a very indirect sense, this is the culture of the Hindu Dharma that people know.
So in a very indirect sense, this is the culture of Hindu Dharma that people know.
So, what's our culture? What do you want to present?
What is our culture? What do we want to present?
Now, what Prabhupada Das is saying, that some people may not know Vedic culture.
What Prabhupada Das Prabhu was referring to is that some people may not know Vedic culture.
So, that's why we have our centers in Vrindavan and Mayapur.
That's why we have our centers in Vrindavan and Mayapur.
They should come.
They should come.
Spend some time.
Spend some time.
Like here, Prabhupada, he was showing how people plow the fields with bulls.
Just like Prabhupada here in Mayapur was showing how people plow the field with bulls.
So Indian people still have Vedic culture in their blood.
In India, still people have Vedic culture in their blood.
So, although they're trying to imitate the West,
Although they're trying to imitate the West.
so Prabhupada was recommending we should spend some time, especially the sannyasis and preachers, spend a little time in India.
So Srila Prabhupada recommended that we should spend some time, especially the preachers, the sannyasis, we should spend some time in India.
And then you'll have an idea how this is practiced, where the dominant culture is the Vedic culture.
So they will have an idea of a place where the dominant culture, it is Vedic culture. Any other questions or comments?
Also, in answer to Prabhu's question, Rupa Goswami suggested that we accept that which is favorable and reject that which is unfavorable, and utilize that in Krishna consciousness. We see a lot of that in ISKCON. We don't all play sitars and Vedic instruments. A lot of music nowadays is on electric guitars. So this is one instance of utilizing something in Krishna consciousness and making it Vedic.
Yeah, I don't want to be like a. Yeah. Hare Krishna. From teachings that I was referring to over at the Academy, Bhaktividya Purnaswami, he makes it very simple. He says there are 4 levels. The best level is Vedic culture used in the service of Krishna. That's first class. The next is non-Vedic. You mentioned Western type music, even electric instruments, so used in the service of Krishna. That's also up there. The next level is Vedic culture not used in the service of Krishna. And the worst thing is non-Vedic culture not used in the service of Krishna. I kind of found that as a kind of a convenient scheme when we think about what is the cultural level and what are we trying to inculcate.
To ask His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj what to do in this situation, for example, when we are living in the country, when the culture is superficially opposing devotional culture. For example, in my country, I am from Serbia. It's the part of previous Yugoslavia. We have prominent Orthodox religion. And they made in the past, now not so much because we are not so acting publicly, they made so much propagation, bad propaganda of devotees. And although we try to connect their beliefs with Vedic culture, for example, some root points in their religion are connected with the Vedas. For example, they address God as Sve Vishni. You see this name of Vishnu inside. And although we tried so many things, but still they don't want to accept something out of envious maybe or something. So although we tried many times, we still didn't find good strategy how to deal with it. So I would ask Maharaj for some suggestion.
Interesting to hear how some words are Vishnu, very much Krishna conscious.
Interesting to hear how some words sounds like Vishnu and they're very much in line with Krishna consciousness.
There's a book in Russia called the Russian Veda.
There is a book in Russia called the Russian Veda,
which tells about different deities which are found in caves and artifacts which are found in Russia.
It's a book that says talks about different deities which are found in caves and different artifacts that are found in Russia.
So maybe you should get a copy of that and then see what similarities there are in your language or in your history with the Vedas, with the Krishna consciousness, and present how this somehow has a link with your ancient roots.
Maybe you should get a copy and in this way show them the similarity in language and other aspects in relation to Krishna consciousness, and showing them that this is actually in line with your roots. These are your roots.
I think that Kaunteya has presented that you are all creators of culture.
Engineers.
Engineers.
Yeah.
Engineers.
So I believe Kaunteya has presented some principles about cultural engineers.
So the devotees in Serbia could meet and discuss which way they want to engineer and present the Krishna conscious culture.
So the devotees in Serbia, they could meet and discuss how you want to engineer the culture, Krishna conscious culture in Serbia.
There was a devotee, and for some reason, all over Sri Lanka, Malaysia, there are various temples to the Holy Family of Lord Shiva.
So in Malaysia and Sri Lanka, other places in Southeast Asia, there are temples in relation to Lord Shiva.
But this devotee would do a program in a Ganesh temple, and he criticized Ganesh.
But one devotee went to make a program in the temple of Ganesh, and he criticized Ganesh.
Although Ganesh is a very sacred personality.
Although Ganesh is a very sacred personality.
Never to be criticized.
There's no need, we don't need to criticize him.
Also, he broke his tusk to write the part of the Vedas, Mahabharata.
Ganesh broke his tusk to write the Mahabharata.
And it says that he's got a form in spiritual world called Vishvaksena.
And it is said that Ganesh has a form in the spiritual world known as Vishvakshena.
But anyway, it's not a very good preaching strategy to criticize the deva of the temple you're preaching in.
But anyway, it's not a very good preaching strategy to criticize the deva of the temple you're preaching in.
I went and they said, please, you always talk from Bhagavad Puran, tell us something from Skanda Puran, Devi Puran, Shiva Puran.
I went there and they asked me, you are always talking from the Bhagavata Purana, please tell us something from the Skanda Purana, Devi Purana, Shiva Purana.
So then I looked up on folio all the quotes from Skanda, Shiva Puran.
So I looked up in the folio all the quotes from Skanda Purana, Shiva Purana.
You'd be surprised, it's 56.
There were 56 of them.
So then I said, Skanda Purana says.
Then I said, the Skanda Purana says.
Oh, they're all watching.
They're all watching and clapping.
Say, ha, ha,
Ha!
Re, ha, Re, Hari, Hari. If you chant these two syllables, the Lord Hari will steal from you.
If you chant this two syllable, the Lord Hari will steal from you.
Then they all got nervous.
All got nervous.
He steals your garbage, your bad karma, your suffering.
He steals your garbage, your bad karma, your suffering.
Oh, Hari, Hari, Hari. So, I was recently thinking that somehow we need to preach to the Christians, Muslims, however they let us. How, in their religion, like in the Christian religion, it says you should love God with all your heart, your soul, your mind. So, Lord Chaitanya teaches us how to love God.
Recently, I was thinking that we should preach according to the Christian, Muslims, scriptures. Like in the Christians, they say that you should love God with all your heart, your mind, your soul. So we should teach that Lord Chaitanya teaches you how to love God.
We're not trying to convert people.
We are not trying to convert people.
Stay with your religion.
Stay with your religion.
But just develop your love.
Huh?
Love.
Develop your love.
Anyway, there in America, there's some. I give a few sermons in some churches. They're a bit open. I don't know if they're open in Serbia.
In America, I gave a few sermons in some churches. They were very open. I don't know if they're open in Serbia. Maharaj said that in America, he gave sermons, he gave speeches in churches, Christian churches, and they were open. I don't know if they would be open the same way in Serbia.
And as culture engineers, you can think what to get out, what you want to present.
As cultural engineers, you will think, you'll figure out what you want to present.
Like in former Yugoslavia, they have a nice preparation called pancake.
There is a nice, like in former Yugoslavia, there is a nice preparation called
pancake.
Pancake.
That has, it's a pancake rolled up with a jam inside.
It's a pancake rolled up with jam inside.
So that's something that the people know.
That's something that people know.
And you give that out to all the visitors.
You can give that out to all visitors.
Oh, they're part of our culture.
Oh, it's part of our culture.
But it's vegetarian.
It's vegetarian.
I mean, this is a crude example.
This is a crude example.
I don't know all the things, but how you want to present yourself.
I don't know all the things, but how to present this.
Sometimes we drive people away.
Sometimes we drive people away.
We should think how to make people feel, oh, they're not so bad, they're good people.
But we should make people feel, oh, they're not so bad, they're good people.
Guru Maharaj, we are conducting Bhakti Vrikshas in Bangalore. So there we have different groups of Bhakti Vrikshas for different people coming from different cultures. But then finally at the end of the week, we all gather in the temple for the Sunday programs, or we go out for yatra together. So, but then we see that the people who are coming from maybe the richer background, they say that they're coming from a higher culture. They think like that. But then they see the people who are coming from a lower background. as a different set of people, and they don't like to mingle with them. So during that situations, we find it difficult to take this set of people in a same mood. So how should we solve this?
It's an option whether you think someone is ready yet to go to the temple or go to some public program.
You need to see if somebody is ready to come to the temple or some public program.
When someone is more advanced, then this should not be an issue.
When someone is more advanced, that should not be an issue.
Just like we have multi-millionaires like Amrish Das, he likes the kirtan.
Like we have multi-millionaires like Ambarish Das who likes kirtan.
I see him in the Alachua temple listening to class.
I see him in the Alachua temple sitting and listening to the class.
So, with someone who is very new, they may not adapt to the multi-level.
But someone who is very new may not adapt to the multi-levels which are present.
So, that the leader of the Bhakti Dvesha can decide or can think whether these people are ready yet to meet all, or at least they can prepare them. That in the temple, there'll be people from all levels.
So the group leaders, the leaders of the Bhakti Viksha program should decide if these people are ready, or at least they should prepare them that, look, we are going to the temple, there'll be people from all levels of society.
So that's one of the good qualities of Bhakti Viksha, that a small group, maybe one group is doctors, one group is a businessman. It can be like that.
That's one of the good qualities of the Bhakti Vriksha, that in small groups, one small group may be all doctors, one businessman, like that. Each group may have their own.
And that's when they open up.
And that's why, that's when they open up.
That's what the nature of Bhakti Viksha is.
That's the nature of Bhakti Viksha. That's what the nature of Bhakti Viksha is.
But in the temple, they don't have to open up.
But in the temple, we
don't usually open up.
We don't usually open up.
We just go, we see the
We go, see the deities, chant,
listen to class, like that.
Like that.
So, I don't know exactly if this is culture.
I don't know exactly if this is culture,
but it's part of the Bhakti Vriksha culture.
It's part of the Bhakti Vriksha culture.
That some people may be attracted to associate with other people of the same profession.
That's some people may be attracted to associate with this people of the same profession.
Like they say in English, birds of a feather flock together.
Like they say in English, birds of a feather flock together.
But our temples have a different culture.
But our temples have a different culture.
They're open.
They're open.
So, that you could prepare those people.
You can prepare those people.
So thank you all very much.
Thank you all very much.
Did you like what Kaunteya Das was presenting? Did you like what Kaunteya Das was presenting?
Did you like what Kaunteya Das was presenting? So tomorrow we'll have the second part, again at 12:15, the role of leadership and empowerment in our communities. And on the third day, we'll also have guests from all over the world talking about their experience in community building and congregational development. So you're all invited. Bring a friend along if you like. Hare Krishna.